Dog trotted into the campsite with the confident bounce of one who expected praise, treats, and familiar human smells. His tail wagged once, twice, then fell still. The clearing was wrong. The tents stood where they always stood, their doors half open like waiting mouths. The folding chairs remained scattered around the fire pit. The cooler lay untouched beneath the pine. Even the humans' jackets hung neatly from a rope between two trees. But the humans were gone. Dog's ears perked sharply. He sniffed the air, expecting warmth, sweat, laughter, roasted food, the wooden smoke that clung to clothing and fur. He smelled none of it, not even a trace. Dog trotted forward cautiously. His claws clicked softly on the dry pine needles as he approached the fire pit. The pit should have been glowing, red embers, faint warmth, the last sigh of a flame, but the stones were cold, the logs unburned, the ashes grey and untouched, as though the fire had never been lit. Dog edged closer, sniffing hard. The wood smelled old and dry, perfect for burning. It should have caught quickly. It should have carried heat, but there was nothing, not smoke, not heat, not the memory of fire. Dog's tail lowered. He nudged one log with his nose. It didn't roll, it didn't even shift. It stuck to the earth as though fused to it. Dog whimpered and backed up, pawing anxiously at the ground. The silence in the campsite grew heavier. No insects, no wind, no rustling branches, no distant water from the creek humans always liked to camp beside. The world held still. Dog barked sharply, once, loudly. The sound should have carried across the clearing, startling birds from trees, echoing faintly off the hills, but instead it dropped flat, swallowed by air that felt too thick. Dog's ears pressed back. Something was wrong with the sky. Clouds hung in a low, unmoving blanket over the treetops, not drifting, not thinning, not promising rain, just suspended, heavy, dim, watching. Dog looked around again. The campsite felt smaller, as though the trees had leaned inward, closing the space, trapping him inside a ring of shadow. He growled, low, warning the dark. Then the ground beneath him vibrated, a soft hum rising from the earth through his paws, rattling his bones. Dog jolted back from the fire pit, fur bristling. The logs trembled, just slightly, barely a quiver. Dog growled louder, backing toward the tents. The fire pit exhaled. Dog froze. It wasn't the sound of flame, not heat pushing air, not wood collapsing into ash. It was an inward sound, a breath, a hollow cold inhalation pulling air toward the center of the pit. Dog whimpered and scrambled backward. The logs in the fire pit shifted again, not outward, not downward, but inward, as if something underneath was drawing them closer. Dog barked in panic. The ground answered, not with sound, but with a whisper that trembled through the soil, up his legs, into his ribs. A word he didn't understand, but his body did. Burn! Dog yelped. The air around the fire pit shimmered faintly. Not heat shimmer, but something reversed. Cold shimmer. The logs creaked. The stones tightened around them. A crack opened beneath the ash. Dog tried to run, but the trees had leaned closer. The world had shifted around him, and the thing beneath the fire pit breathed again. Dog's paws scrabbled backward as the crack beneath the fire pit widened. Ash drifted upward in slow, unnatural spirals, not rising from heat, not blown by wind, but pulled, drawn like dust towards something hungry. Dog barked again, sharp, frightened, cracking at the end. The sound didn't echo. It didn't even reach the trees. It stopped mid-air, smothered by the same heavy stillness that choked the entire campsite. His heart hammered. His breath came fast. Every instinct pushed him to run. But the forest had shifted. The trees, once safely spaced, now leaned inward at crooked angles. Their branches interlocked above like a net. Their trunks stood too close together, leaving only narrow, unnatural gaps that Dog could not squeeze through. He was trapped. Dog bolted toward a tent, shoving his head beneath the canvas flap. But the fabric resisted him again. He pushed harder. The tent wall flexed like skin stretched too tight, not collapsing, not folding, just bending back against him, pushing him out. Dog whimpered and retreated. Behind him, the fire pit inhaled once more. This time he felt it. The air tugged at his whiskers, at the loose fur on his neck, at the heat of his breath. Everything warm pulled toward the pit. Dog growled sharply, stepping sideways, keeping low, eyes locked on the trembling logs. Something was rising beneath them. A faint glow seeped from the crack, not the orange of flame, not the red of embers, but pale white light, cold and distant, like starlight buried deep underground. The ground pulsed again. Dog stumbled as the soil moved under him, not shaking, breathing. The tents shifted with it, the chairs creaked, the mugs rattled. The hanging jackets swayed without wind. The entire campsite inhaled with the fire pit. Dog crouched low, tail tucked tight, ears pinned flat. Another pulse. This time, the shape beneath the logs pushed upward. Dog froze. A curved piece of dark charred matter broke through the ash. Smooth, blackened, cracked with faint glowing lines that pulsed with the heartbeat of the earth. Not wood, not stone, something else. Dog growled, paws digging into the dirt. The curved shape dragged upward, revealing more of itself. A limb, a long, ember-lined structure like bones scorched in a fire that never truly burned. Ash rained from it in soft bursts, but the ash didn't fall. It floated, hovering in slow motion. The limb braced itself on the edge of the pit. Then another limb rose beside it. Dog took a step back, just one. But it was enough to earn a response. The glowing veins beneath the soil flared upward, racing across the campsite like thin threads of lightning. They passed beneath Dog's paws, and he yelped at the cold. The creature beneath the fire pit lifted its head next. A skull-like form, burned black, hollow-eyed, but not empty. From the sockets, pale white light seeped outward, pulsing like distant, dying flame. Dog froze. His breath caught. The creature turned its head toward him, slowly, deliberately, and the word came again. Not whispered, not spoken, remembered. Burn! Dog whimpered, backing up until his hindquarters pressed against the stiff canvas of the tent. He couldn't escape. The forest blocked him, the tents pushed him back. The world itself narrowed around him until only two things remained. Dog, and the thing rising from the earth. The creature dragged its torso free, ash cascading from its frame. Cracks along its chest glowed white, then flickered weakly, like a failing ember searching for fuel. Dog's eyes widened. He understood something then, not in words, but in instinct. The creature wasn't alive, but it wanted to be. It wanted heat, warmth, breath, life, his life. The creature reached toward him. Its limb crackled faintly. Dog backed up, shaking. The creature inhaled again. A long, cold pull, and Dog felt the warmth drain from the air. His own breath drifted toward the pit. The creature's eyes glowed brighter. Burn! With us! Dog shook violently. The glowing veins beneath the ground surged, curling toward his paws like living threads, wrapping the perimeter of the clearing. Closing in. Dog braced himself, heart pounding. He could no longer run. He could only face whatever wanted fire from a world where nothing burned. Dog trembled as the glowing veins slithered across the soil toward him. They pulsed with cold light, beating in a slow, steady rhythm, a heartbeat not his own. The creature climbed higher out of the fire pit. Its body was a lattice of charred bone and hardened ash, wrapped in cracks that flickered like dying embers. Each movement scraped softly, like logs shifting in a hearth long after midnight. Dog whimpered, shrinking back. The tents pressed against him, stiff and unmoving, their fabric taut as if the campsite itself was corralling him closer to the creature. The forest leaned inward, the air thickened. The sky refused to move. There was no escape. Dog barked once, a short, terrified burst. The creature's head snapped toward him with unnatural speed. Its hollow sockets flared brighter. Its body straightened. Dog's bark had fed it. Dog felt the truth hit him like a blow. The creature wasn't just calling for fire, it was calling for heat, for life, for breath, for him. The creature inhaled again, a long rattling pull that dragged warm air out of Dog's lungs and toward the pit. Dog gasped and stumbled, dizzy. The glowing veins tightened their circle around him. He bolted sideways, but the earth rose beneath his paws, a small ridge forming just high enough to trip him. Dog skidded, scrambled, righted himself. He ran the other way, but a tent pole snapped upright like a spear, blocking the path. Dog yelped and spun. The forest shifted again, trunks bending subtly, closing gaps. He was being herded, guided, offered. The creature crawled free of the pit at last. It stood tall, too tall, a figure of burnt bone and ember veins, swaying gently like a flame that had forgotten how to flicker. Its chest cracked open slightly with each breath, revealing a tiny orange glow deep inside. A spark. Weak. Thin. Desperate. Dog's ears lowered. The spark pushed outward feebly, trying to spread warmth into the creature's body, but the cracks around it only released cold light. The creature lifted its head toward the sky. The clouds did not move. They lowered, just a little, as if listening. Then the creature turned back to Dog, its limbs extended, trembling like brittle branches in winter. Burn! The word shuddered through the clearing, rattling chairs, lifting ash, making the earth pulse beneath Dog's paws. Not a command, a plea. Dog's breath hitched. He felt warmth rising from his chest, his own life, his own heat, pulling toward the creature. He backed up until his spine pressed the tent again. The creature stepped closer. The ground dimmed in a ring around it, as though the soil gave up its last warmth at its approach. Grass curled inward. Stones cracked softly. Dog growled, weakly, uncertain, but refusing to move closer. The creature paused at the sound. Its head tilted. Its chest spark fluttered weakly. Dog growled again. The spark brightened, for a moment, and the creature leaned closer, sensing heat in the sound. Dog barked. The spark flared. The creature's whole body tensed, cracks widening as faint orange light seeped through. The glowing veins surged in response, racing across the ground toward Dog's paws. Dog scrambled backward, slipping, claws digging into ash. The veins didn't touch him, they circled him, a perfect ring of pale light. Dog froze inside it. The creature raised both of its limbs. Its sockets flared blinding white. Burn! With us! The circle snapped shut. The ground beneath Dog warmed instantly, not with fire, but with absorbing heat. His heat. Dog yelped as warmth drained through his paws, sinking into the soil. His breath fogged into thicker clouds. His muscles trembled violently. The ember in the creature's chest brightened, grew, cracked the bone around it, as if pulling Dog's life into itself. The creature staggered forward, greedy, trembling, reaching out. Dog barked one last time, a cry of fear and defiance, and the ember blazed, for the first time burning bright orange. Then burst outward. A wave of heat, real heat, rushed across the campsite. Dog was thrown sideways, skidding across pine needles. The tent snapped backward. The trees recoiled. The clouds rippled. And the creature, the thing that rose from the pit, collapsed, its body cracking, smoke rising from its fractured limbs. Dog staggered up, chest heaving. The pit glowed fiercely now. Alive. Awake. But something else moved inside it. Something brighter than the creature that first crawled out. A second spark. A stronger one. A new voice rose from the pit. Louder, sharper, alive. Burn! Dog's fur bristled all over. Something else was coming. Something without weakness. Something that understood fire. Dog's paws slid across the ash-dusted earth as he scrambled to his feet. His chest burned from the force of the blast, his fur still trembling from the heat that had washed over the clearing. But the heat was already fading. Fast. The air thickened again with the cold weight of the unmoving sky. The tents sagged inward. The trees creaked softly, leaning as if listening. The fire pit glowed, not weakly anymore, not faint or struggling. It glowed with purpose, a deep orange-red heartbeat pulsing through the soil. The collapsed creature, the first one, lay motionless in a broken heap beside the pit. Its hollow sockets flickered once, dimmed, and went dark. Dog stared at it, breathing hard. He thought it might stay down. He hoped. But the glow inside the pit sharpened, brightened, and suddenly Dog realized that creature wasn't the fire. It was only the failed spark. Something stronger had woken underneath. The fire pit inhaled. Dog felt the air rush inward, not toward the collapsing creature, not toward the logs, not toward the stones, toward him. His breath caught in his throat. His body swayed involuntarily, heat draining from his chest. Dog backed up until his tail hit a stiff tent wall. A new crack split through the center of the pit, wider than before, glowing like molten metal. Ash lifted from the ground in swirling patterns, orbiting the pit instead of falling. Dog watched with wide, trembling eyes. Then a sound rose, not a voice, not a whisper, but a furnace-deep hum that vibrated inside his ribs. Dog whimpered. The light inside the pit intensified, a swirling core of orange and white heat forming into a shape that moved. A second limb emerged, not blackened like the first creature's, but glowing through cracks like volcanic rock. It gripped the stone ring, melting it slightly. Dog yelped at the sudden flash of heat. The second creature pulled itself upward with terrifying ease. Its surface wasn't charred ash. It wasn't skeletal and brittle. It was alive with heat. Cracks of molten orange pulsed beneath darkened armor-like plates, like fire trapped in stone skin. Smoke hissed where its limbs touched the air. The ground around the pit began to steam. Dog wanted to run, but the glowing veins in the soil surged upward, forming a barrier that curved inward around him and the pit. A circle of burning lines, this time truly hot, rose from the dirt, hemming him in. The first creature twitched once as the heat washed over it. Its broken head lifted, and in a voice weaker than before, "Help! The fire!" Dog flinched. The new creature turned its blazing sockets toward the fallen one. The heat from its gaze alone blistered the nearest stones. The first creature recoiled, crumbling inward. The new one exhaled through invisible lungs. A blast of heat washed across the clearing, dry, sharp, hungry. Dog yelped as the grass beneath him curled and died. The tents smoked at their seams. The trees straightened violently, branches snapping into new positions as though bracing for something ancient. The second creature stepped fully free of the pit. It stood tall, taller than the first, taller than any human dog had seen. Its chest held a roaring core, a molten heart that pulsated with molten brightness, and when it turned toward Dog, the air distorted with heat. Dog backed up, whining, tail tucked tight. The creature studied him, its molten chest dimmed slightly, listening. Dog's breath hitched. He barked, one frightened, sharp bark. The creature reacted instantly. Its chest flashed white-hot, the brightest light Dog had ever seen, and the ground beneath him cracked from the surge. Dog stumbled, paws scrambling. The creature leaned down toward him. Slowly, intentionally. The first creature, still collapsed on the ground, let out a broken hiss. "Not him! He is warm." The new creature's head snapped toward it. Heat flared. The first creature disintegrated into ash. Dog flinched violently. The new creature turned back to him. It reached out with a glowing limb, heat shimmering from every crack. Dog whimpered, shaking, but the creature didn't touch him. Its hand hovered over his back, a breath away, radiating blistering warmth that curled the fur along Dog's spine. And then, in a voice deeper, fuller, alive with fire, "You wake us!" Dog froze. The burning veins in the soil brightened. The core in the creature's chest roared, and it whispered, flame in its tone, "Give us breath!" Dog's lungs tightened. He couldn't tell if the creature wanted him to breathe for it, or breathe into it, or stop breathing altogether. Heat spiraled around him, forming a glowing cage. The creature leaned closer, far too close. "Burn with us!" Dog didn't bark this time. He howled, and the fire pit, and the creature, and the sky above answered.